Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. This is probably one of my most exciting videos that I post, well, over the last couple years. This is the third year of Middle Grade March, and this is the third year that I have put together this wonderful collab video for you with all new booktubers and a couple Instagrammers sharing some of their favorite middle grade reads. I have divided it up according to the 5 challenges so that if you're having trouble deciding on which book to read for one of the challenges, you can go right to that section. I will put timestamps down in the description box below, as well as all of these wonderful people and where you can find them on BookTube or Instagram. I hope that you enjoy this video and find a book or 2 or 10 to add to your TBR for Middle Grade March.
Hello there guys, this is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. I read one of my favorite middle grade books ever last year, The 21 Balloons by William Penet du Bois. This is such an imaginative story, just so much fun that I was able to read and relax before bed. Amazingly, for Middle Grade March, it qualifies for four of the 5 challenges, and it's a tiny little book. So first of all, one of the harder challenges in my opinion is it has a storyteller. It has a teacher who is just retiring from his profession of teaching young kids, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna live the retired life in a bunch of balloons and I'm gonna go like fly. I don't remember where he's supposed to be flying to, but he has a destination. So he heads off in his balloons and some crazy adventures happen that nobody knows what happened. So the story starts off and we're wondering, okay, what happened? And he's going to tell his audience what happened. It's a really darling introduction. It also has a mystery plot in it, although it's not a mystery novel. It does have illustrations, and it does take place in several different countries, particularly on an island called Krakatoa, although I wouldn't necessarily call this a diversity read. Sadly, there are no film adaptations, but you can't have everything in one book, right? I hope you'll come and talk with me at my channel if you really like middle grade too. Thanks for watching!
Hi, I'm Kim, the paper traveler, and Krista's asked me to share my favorite middle grade book, and that would definitely be Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. This is a book my son and I read years ago when he was in middle school, and this is the first part of a trilogy. This is a book that is about books. This follows a girl named Maggie, and when her father read aloud from a book called Inkheart, the villain of the book came into the real world. Now, this takes you in and out of the fictional world, and I just absolutely love this book. My son did also. And one of my favorite things about this book, at the beginning of each chapter, she has quotes from different books. For instance, here is a quote from The Princess Bride, and it has quotes from Fellowship of the Ring, to Jungle Book, Mark Twain's books. It's just so many. I love this book so much, and I hope it would be one you would check out.
Hey, Michael Nip here to bring you a recommendation for Middle Grade March that was really near and dear to my heart growing up. When I saw that one of the prompts this year was a book about books or stories, it reminded me of a series that I devoured as a little young nerdy kid. And that series is The Wonderful Worlds of Wally McDougall. The first book, My Life as a Smashed Burrito with Extra Hot Sauce, is the perfect jumping on point for the series. The main character of the series, Wally McDougall, is kind of a dorky kid who forms a camaraderie with some of his friends who he affectionately refers to as the Dorkoids. He's very unlucky and he's always making mistakes, and the tie-in for it being a book about stories is that Wally McDougall himself wants to be a screenwriter, and so the story is switching back and forth between the current events of what's happening in Wally's life, and also he writes a superhero story series throughout the series, and it goes back and forth between what he's writing and what he's experiencing in real life. Of course, the lessons that he's learning in real life generally tie in some way to the stories that he's writing. I'm looking forward to some awesome middle grade books this March, and I hope that you are too. Happy reading!
Hi, my name is Hannah from Hannah Hearts Book 6, and I'm here to recommend you a middle grade book. My recommendation to you is When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead. This is a Newbery winning book, and that's actually how I found it. And this book ended up being such a surprise favorite for me. I'd never heard anybody talk about it, and my guess is you probably haven't heard of it either. And so basically this story is a little quirky, but it is about a girl named Miranda, and when the book starts, her mom has been chosen to be on the $20,000 pyramid, and she's talking about how she already knew that this was going to happen because she received a letter in the mail saying that this was going to happen. And basically that's what starts this book, as she's receiving letters about things that this person couldn't possibly know about because they haven't even happened yet. And this book fits for the Book About Books challenge because it heavily mentions A Wrinkle in Time, and this also works for a mystery because you're trying to figure out who the heck sent her these letters and how do they know it's going to happen because they haven't even happened yet. So this book just like blew my mind and I absolutely loved it, and I really hope you love it too. It's set in the 70s and that vibe is just really prevalent throughout this whole book, and I really hope that you love it too.
Hi everyone, this is Rachel from the channel BookBoop, and I have a great middle grade recommendation for you with beautiful illustrations, and that story is The Assassination of Brangwyn Spurge by M.T. Anderson and Eugene Yelchin. As you can see just from the cover itself, it has a beautiful art style to it that's very Renaissance-esque, and in the inside, throughout the entire book, there are these beautiful illustrations, also very Renaissance feeling. It has a wonderful humor to it that reminds me so much of Monty Python, to be honest, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The story is all about the importance of not only respecting others' cultures and traditions, but to learn from them as well. And it's all between this elfin kingdom, this goblin kingdom that have been warring for generations, and them starting to learn about each other and understand their differences and how beautiful that can be to be able to become friends with people that are different from us. So I highly recommend this book. It is so much fun, so much great humor, perfect for kids and adults alike.
If you're looking for a book with great illustrations, then you need look no further than Liesel and Poe by Lauren Oliver. This book follows the character of Liesel. 3 days after the death of her father, she has seen a ghost who is Poe, but she has been locked away in an attic by her cruel stepmother. This book is every inch the fairy tale with magic and ghosts and alchemy, and is an exploration of grief that is told very delicately. It's a great book that has magic and intrigue and mystery and ghosts, as I have mentioned. Liesel perhaps has found a new friend in this ghost, and could he just be a replacement for her father? It's a fantastic story with so many layers that I heartily recommend for the month of March.
Hi, I'm Tia from the channel Tia and All the Books, and today I would like to recommend to you the middle grade book, The Unicorn in the Barn. This is a beautiful story if you are looking to fulfill the challenge of a book that has illustrations. It is written by Jacqueline K. Ogburn, and the illustrations were done by Rebecca Green. Let me just show you a couple of the illustrations. It probably has an illustration in every chapter, and definitely at the beginning of every chapter. Actually, that chapter has multiple illustrations in it. This is a beautiful story about a young boy named Eric who comes to discover that magical creatures actually do exist. He develops a beautiful friendship with his neighbor, who is a vet, as well as her daughter. And the thing that makes this novel so heartwarming is his just absolute love for animals, how much he cares for them and wants to take care of them, and also his beautiful, beautiful relationship with his grandmother. The way that they love each other and relate to each other is just so heartwarming in this story. If you haven't already read this, I definitely recommend picking this up. I think that you will absolutely love it.
Hi guys, my name's Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books, and me and my daughter Matilda, who is 7, have been reading the middle grade graphic novel series, The Babysitter's Club by Raina Telgemeier. So this is about a group of girls who join together to make a babysitting club, and they do this to sort of maximise their babysitting potential because one person can't cover everything. So they form a club, they meet at one of the girls' houses to take phone calls, and they sort of share their experiences of babysitting together. And I really like this because it covers some really quite heavy topics, but in a really light way. So you have things like diabetes and divorce and single parents and jealousy and marriage.
Ex-wife and ex-daughter.
Yeah, you've got lots of different things going on in here, but in a really accessible and nice way. What is it that you like about this?
I like that it has more pictures than words, because I'm not really into like books that have so much words, because they've only got like that. I just love these books so much. They're like my favourite book I've read in my life. I just love them. I would love to read like until the end of the series for this and kind of read these when I'm like a teenager, when I'm 8. I would read them again and again even when I've just read them.
We really enjoy them, don't we?
Bye!
I'm Kate Howe here, and the book, or books rather, that I wanted to recommend to you for Middle Grade March for the Illustrated Challenge, book with illustrations, are the Gone Away Lake books by Elizabeth Enright. And the first book in the series is Gone Away Lake, and then the second book is Return to Gone Away Lake. While these covers aren't my particular favorite, I picked them up for 50 cents at the library because I wanted to own a copy of this series. It is about Portia Blake, who visits her cousin Julian Foster every summer. And in the particular summer that Gone Away Lake takes place, they happen upon all of these old abandoned Victorian mansions in a swamp. And they find out soon from an older brother and sister that are still living in the mansions there that it used to be a lake resort and then gradually over time turned into a swamp. But they befriend this older brother and sister, and then they each get a Victorian mansion of their own to fix up for the summer and turn them into clubhouses with other kids that they make friends with. And it's just full of wonder and whimsy, and I highly recommend them.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with Portraits of Me, and I have a fun recommendation for Middle Grade March. This book will help you with the challenge of picking a book with illustrations in it. And that book is this book right here. It is The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. And the cool thing about this book is the author not only wrote the book, but she also did the illustrations you'll find within these pages. Now this story is about two main characters. You have a wizard named Czar who doesn't possess any magic, and you have a warrior named Wish who does possess magic, although she shouldn't. So this story is solving that mystery, and also it's bringing these two main characters together to overcome a greater evil. So if you like fantasy, magic, and friendship building in your books, then I really highly recommend The Wizards of Once. That's my recommendation for Middle Grade March.
Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Connor. My channel is just Connor O'Brien. I wanted to pop in and recommend The World's Greatest Detective by Caroline Carlson. This one is set in a little bit of a historical time period, but it follows a boy named Toby, and he has been passed from family member to family member. He's on his last one, so he really wants to make this one stick. His uncle is a detective, and Toby obviously wants to help him out. In this book, there's a competition between different detectives, and they are competing to see who's the greatest detective in the world. But before the competition gets started, someone gets murdered, and then it becomes about trying to solve that murder and figure out what is going on, who the murderer is, when it happened, and all of that good stuff. This book is a ton of fun. I totally enjoyed following Toby and his friend Ivy, who helps him out in trying to solve this mystery, and I was definitely on the edge of my seat trying to figure out who did it before the characters could, so I hope you guys will check it out. It's a really good one.
Hey everyone, my name is Tori from the channel Tori Morrow, and the middle grade novel that I'm recommending to you all is The Invention of Hugo Cabret, and this is by Brian Selznick. I read this a few years ago now, and even when I think about it, I still really love this book. It's like part novel, part graphic novel, part mystery. It's so much fun, and I think you'll really enjoy this. In this, we're following this young boy named Hugo, and he lives in the walls of a Paris train station, and he's also a really skilled clockmaker. But one day, everything just kind of changes for Hugo when his path collides with this young girl named Isabel and this shopkeeper, and all these mysteries start unfolding about Hugo's past and his father who died, and that's not a spoiler, it's in the synopsis. But it's so cool the way everything is revealed and the way everything comes together. So I really enjoyed this. If you haven't read it already, then I highly recommend it.
Hello, my name is Emily and my channel's name is Books for Life. I am here today to tell you about the middle grade novel, The Night Gardener. Now this is one that I read a few years ago, but it has stuck with me. This is a Victorian ghost story, and it has like shades of Washington Irving in it. So if you enjoy ghost stories, then this is definitely one for you. If you enjoyed something like Small Spaces by Catherine Arden or Dead Voices by Catherine Arden, again, this is a story that you would enjoy. So in this story, you follow these two siblings and they are headed to find work. They are abandoned Irish siblings and they need to work as servants in a rundown English manor. But when they get there, they realize that the house and the family is not quite what they thought. There is a mysterious ghost and an ancient curse on the house, and their very lives are at risk. So you follow their story and figure out what it is they are going to do. It was beautifully written. It has stuck with me for many years now. I think about it a lot, and it is definitely a really great spooky read if that is what you are into. Happy reading from Middle Grade March!
Hi everyone, it's Kate from The Novel Nomad, and what I recommend for a mystery read is The Little Grey Girl by Celine Keranen. This is book 2 in the Wild Magic trilogy. You can definitely read book 1 as part of the mystery challenge as well, but what I really loved about The Little Grey Girl is it goes into really interesting ideas of grief and loss and trauma, and it really explores that within the idea of an Irish ghost, and it's really fascinating. There's lots of fairy elements through it, and it was just such a beautiful story. It could get a little bit scary at times, so I feel like the little ones reading this might be a bit scared, but I think everyone else would be perfectly fine, and it was just so beautiful in the end. I highly recommend.
Hi, I'm Vanessa from Paper Fairy, and I wanted to recommend the Nancy Drew books. These books were some of my favorites when I was a kid. They are about a teenage girl named Nancy Drew who works as a detective and solves mysteries and solves crimes. Nancy Drew has been around since the 1930s, and people have been reading about her and loving her for decades. She's definitely a cultural icon. There are so many books and movies and even video games, and these books are just so fun and wholesome, and I always have a ton of fun reading them. So that is what I would recommend for Middle Grade March. If you pick up some Nancy Drew, I hope you enjoy it.
Hi everyone, I'm Rainy from the channel Rainy Day Reads, and today I would like to recommend to you Winter House by Ben Guterson for 3 of the prompts for Middle Grade March. This is a mystery, and it also involves books, and it has wonderful illustrations. This book centers around a girl named Elizabeth who was sent by her aunt and uncle to stay in a hotel called Winter House. And in this hotel are a lot of very interesting people, and a very interesting library, and a very interesting, very odd book that Elizabeth has to kind of decode to come up with some answers to a lot of questions she has. And the illustrations in this book are beautiful and detailed, and I really enjoyed perusing them as I read this book. So yes, definitely if you want one book to cover multiple prompts, this book is the book for you. And I can't wait to move on to the second in the series, The Secrets of Winter House, for this Middle Grade March.
Hi, I'm Marianne. This is
Prometheus.
We're Booksellets. We are joining Krista at Books&Jams and co-host Katie at Life Between Words for Middle Grade March. I will be reading The Eagle of the Ninth. The Ninth Legion marched into the mists of northern Britain, and they were never seen again. 4,000 men disappeared, and their eagle standard was lost. It is a mystery. Prometheus, what are you reading?
I'm reading The Phantom Toll Booth. It's a story about Milo, who has far too much time on his hands and nothing to fill it, until he discovers a toll booth in his room. And then he discovers there are quite a lot of things to fill his time.
Sounds interesting. So everybody, please join us for Middle Grade March. Read with us. It'll be fantastic. Thanks.
My name is Bree from the channel Call Me After Coffee, and I am super excited to be helping out with Middle Grade March this year. And I decided to choose The Green Glass House as my middle grade mystery pick, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the characters, I loved the quirky nature of the story. It kind of had a little bit of a series of unfortunate events feel to it. It was quirky and it had these funny characters, but it also had some really serious moments, and I thought it was really sweet. I loved the 2 kids that we follow, Milo and Betty. They are the sweetest pair. I love their dynamic because Betty is a lot more bossy than he is, and she kind of gets the job done, and she pushes Milo out of his comfort zone a little bit. Milo is a little bit more of an introvert. He's getting ready. He just wants to hang out and have Christmas holidays with his family. He doesn't want any drama. He doesn't want any busyness. He just wants to have a calm and quiet holiday. And all of a sudden, all of these people start showing up at the green glass house. Maddie pretty much just forces her friendship on Milo, and he's not really down with it. He kind of pushes her away for a minute, and then they end up being like the best of friends. They go on this adventure of make-believe. They have these fake personas that they've invented, and they go around the house solving mysteries, and it is so much fun. And Milo is also adopted, so there are parts of the story that touch on that, and I think it's a really, really sweet addition to the story. So if you're looking for a really great middle grade mystery, I would highly, highly recommend The Green Glass House.
Hello everybody, my name is Phoenix and I have a channel here on YouTube called Somebody Reads. I have a recommendation for you for Middle Grade March for the prompt of a book set in another country, and for that I chose Never Tell by Catherine Orton. This is a middle grade polar fantasy book and tells the story of Lena, a little girl who escapes from a Russian prison camp with her best friend Bodgan. But little do they know that they've been followed by a sorceress and her pack of shadow wolves to use a little bit of sorcery of their own if they are to survive. I chose this book because I love books that have a historical fiction setting but with fantasy elements. I also love polar fantasy and books that are set in cold countries. I absolutely recommend this book because I think this is one of those books that are enjoyable for kids but also for adults, and also, I mean, the cover is stunning. I'm gonna read this book for Middle Grade March, so if you pick it too, we're gonna read it together.
Hi everyone, it's Vanessa from the BookTube channel Split Reads. For the challenge to read a book set outside of your country, I selected Red Scarf Girl by Jili Jiang, which is a narrative-driven nonfiction book that was published in the 1990s about a girl who grew up during the Cultural Revolution in China in the 1960s and 70s. This was a movement that was led by Mao Zedong that had both good and bad things. It was trying to eliminate the class struggle, but it also led to a lot of deaths and public humiliations and riots. And Jili Jiang talks about her family's interactions with this movement. It's one that she really wanted to partake in and to be a part of, but she did not realize that her family was seen as bad because of the material things that they owned and because her grandfather had been a landlord at one point. These were all things that were very looked down upon by the Cultural Revolution. I think that her memoir is very palpable, it's very insightful, and it's very powerful to look into kind of the dark side of movements like this that have good intentions, but that may not necessarily, you know, go through very well. I really enjoyed listening to her experience with it and seeing how she views the Cultural Revolution and her childhood growing up through it. And I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a good story that reads like a story, but it's about a real life thing.
Hey guys, my name is Sarah Hannett and I've decided to go with the set in another country prompt. In my case, this is going to mean Artemis Fowl. This book is set in Ireland and I'm Canadian, so that works quite well. The interesting thing is the protagonist of this book, he's actually the villain of this book. For most of the story, the Artemis Fowl series is kind of a redemption arc for him, but this first book introduces him as a 12-year-old genius who kidnaps a fairy and holds her for ransom as an attempt to raise money to rescue his father, who is somewhere missing. We don't know where. He's been missing for about 2 years and everyone else has given up on him. So Artemis is having to finance these search missions himself, and he decides that, yeah, holding a fairy for ransom is the way to do it. So he kidnaps a fairy police officer named Holly Short and holds her captive in his mansion, and then of course this results in the entire fairy police force trying to find a way to get her back. Anyway, if you like urban fantasy, especially ones that involve fairies with laser guns, Artemis Fowl is probably a good choice for you.
Hi guys, it's Emily from Novelle Novels, and thank you Krista for asking me to talk about a book I love, and here it is. This is my middle grade book that I've chosen to talk about, and that is The Girl Who Speaks Bear. This is about Yanka, who's found abandoned in a cave as a baby, and she's brought up, and it's set in Russia, which is the other country thing, and she basically has to go back to her roots and find out where she's from and find out what her roots are. This tells of a lot of Russian folklores, and I think it's really, really interesting. I love the fact that you've got stories within this. You've got The House with Chicken Legs in it, which is obviously the first book, based on the first book that Sophie Anderson has written, and it's lovely. I love Yanka. I love the folklores. I love the feeling of family and finding who you really are, and I think this is such a good book. If you pick up any middle grade book, pick this, although I am cheating and telling you that to pick up The House with Chicken Legs as well, because that's brilliant as well. But anyway, thank you for asking me to talk about this. Take care guys, bye bye.
Hi guys, my name's Amanda and I'm from the channel The Curly Reader, and today I want to recommend for you Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz-Ryan. This fills the challenge to read a book outside of the country that you live in. For me, that's the United States, and this book is set partially in Mexico. It is about a little girl, Esperanza, who lives in Mexico with her family, and they're fairly well off. And then something happens, and they have to flee to California, and they become migrant workers in California. And so it's just about her journey and her change in lifestyle and how that affects her and how she adjusts to it. It's absolutely brilliant. Pam Munoz-Ryan is one of my all-time favorite middle grade authors, and I highly, highly suggest you pick this one up.
Hello, my name is Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. I'm going to recommend for middle grade March book Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This is On the Banks of Plum Creek, one of my favorites in the series. I'm currently reading it as an adult, and it just rings so true to what I remember as a child. It is full of adventure, of family, of sorrows, of love, of family struggles and joys of surviving. It does have pictures in it. That's what I'm looking for, illustrations. It is also a book to screen adaptation, as it is a TV show. And for me at least, it takes place outside of my country, which I live in Canada. So that's perfect. I think it's such a great story to pick up and read and fly through and really appreciate how life has changed in some ways, and in some ways it hasn't. It's a really great one, and I highly recommend it. Hey guys, I'm Sophia from Sophia Reads, and my recommendation for middle grade March is my favorite book of all time, and that is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. So this book would actually work for a couple of the challenges. First off, my edition has illustrations, so you could pick it up for the book with illustrations. There is also a movie that was made from this, so you could pick it up as the book to screen adaptation, or you could pick it up as one of your wildcard books. So on the outset, this is a story about a little piglet named Wilbur. He is the runt of the litter, and so the farmer is going to kill him off basically, and the farmer's daughter Fern decides that she is totally smitten with Wilbur and wants him to live. So Wilbur grows up in this barnyard and makes all of these friends, and the story just kind of goes from there. Some of the main themes in this book are friendship and diversity and inclusion, and one of my favorite things about this book is that it is so great for so many different age groups. I think that anyone could read this book and learn something or get something new out of it. So I hope that you guys really enjoy this one if you do pick it up.
Hey guys, it's Ashley, and I make videos on YouTube. My channel is Downright Bookish. I'm really excited to share my recommendation for the middle grade March readathon. I would recommend reading Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. This is a little bit of an older book, but it is definitely a great book to read. I fell in love with it when I was little and am still really obsessed with this series. I think it can knock out 3 out of the 5 prompts for this year's readathon. Now, this book is a book about books. It also has a few illustrations, and it also has a book to movie adaptation. This book is about Maggie and her father, Mo. And one fateful night, Mo reads aloud a story from the book Inkheart, and the villain of the book appears in real life. What I really enjoyed about this book is just the magical world and also the relationship between Maggie and Mo. I love seeing a daughter-father relationship, especially in a middle grade book, and this one was done really well. I would highly recommend picking up Inkheart for middle grade March.
Hello, I'm Jennifer at JenSues on Instagram, and I have a middle grade March recommendation for everybody. It's a series. That series can fit with the adaptations prompt for middle grade March because some of them have been made into movies, and that is the Dear America series. They're middle grade historical fiction books written by different authors about different girls in different time periods, and they're told in diary format. I credit these books with my love of history and historical fiction. I don't know how many of these books I read. I don't think I read the whole series, and they've come out with more since I've been an adult. My favorite in this series is this one right here, Christmas After All. It is the Great Depression diary of Minnie Swift, and it takes place in 1932. I loved all these books I read. Another favorite of mine was Early Sunday Morning, and it is a Pearl Harbor diary. So, I mean, it's just different time periods. They're really interesting books, and I hope somebody picks one of them up. Have a great day.
Hello bookish friends, I'm Berna from Berna's Bookish Adventures. I want to recommend my favorite book of 2019, Wonder by R.G. Palacio. It tells the story of the little boy August, who has a facial disfiguration. Starting from the 5th year, he goes to a public school with other kids. Story is told from different perspectives, mostly from August, but it is also told from the perspective of his sister and his best friend, and so many other perspectives also come into play. The book is about hope, love, family, friendship, and not giving up. When I first read the book, I thought I was gonna cry a lot, but the book had so much hope. It only brought smiles to my face. When I was reading it, I would recommend this book to readers who likes a good emotional story.
Hey guys, it's Cassara from Reads with Cassara, and today the middle grade book that I'd like to recommend to you guys is Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. So this is the first book in the Underland Chronicles, and you guys might recognize Suzanne Collins because she's the author that wrote The Hunger Games, but this is the series that she wrote before The Hunger Games, and it was the series that I was introduced to her writing, and I absolutely love this series. This is about a character named Gregor whose father disappeared, and then one day he's watching his little sister Boots, and they're doing laundry in the basement of their New York City apartment building when she falls through a grate into the Underland, and he follows her, and he's just pulled into this different world where there are giant talking cockroaches and spiders and rats, and maybe his father didn't leave his family like he thought that he had. I really adore this series. It's one of my favorite middle grade series of all times. It's one that I still read occasionally because I love it so much. And while it doesn't really fit any of the categories for Middle Grade March, it's definitely one that I highly recommend, and I hope you guys can enjoy it as much as I did.
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm from Kelly Martin Books, and I wanted to give you my middle grade recommendation. This is The Collector by K.R. Alexander. It's one of my absolute favorite middle grade books. It's a middle grade horror, it's not a ghost story, I guess it's a scary story. But if you think dolls are creepy, this is the book for you. There's 3 rules when Josie goes to her grandmother's house. 1, never leave your window open after dark. 2, no dolls in the house. And 3, never ever go into the woods, or go by the house in the woods, sorry. So I absolutely loved this one. It was very much a page turner. I let my daughter read it, my preteen daughter read it, and she loved it too. So if you're looking for kind of a book on the kind of scary side, then this is for you.
Hi, this is Hillary from Melted Books, and my pick for Middle Grade March is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. This is a retelling of Cinderella, and it was one of my childhood favorites. This story follows Ella, who was cursed by a fairy named Lucinda when she was a baby, and the curse is that she has to obey whatever anyone says. So because this is a retelling of Cinderella, you're also following Ella as she is forced to live with an evil stepmother and 2 stepsisters, all the while dealing with this curse that is bestowed upon her. I loved this story because it was such a great retelling of a fairy tale. It had a lot of fantastic elements to it, and all the while you were just really rooting for Ella and hoping that she can break this curse. So this is what I recommend for Middle Grade March.
Hello, my name is Brianna from the channel Coffee Books and Bullet Journals, and today I would like to introduce you to my favorite middle grade book, and that is All the Impossible Things by Lindsay Lackey. All the Impossible Things made it onto my top 5 books of 2019, and I cried multiple times in this, so if you pick it up, make sure you have a box of tissues with you. All the Impossible Things is about a girl named Red who is in the foster care system. I believe she's 11 or 12, and she's in the foster care system because her mother went to prison because she is a drug addict. And she has this calendar and a countdown date of, 400 days until I get to see my mom again, and then counts down throughout the book. And she is sent to live with this couple who owns a petting zoo or a farm. It's supposed to just be like this temporary foster home, but obviously the parents kind of fall in love with her, and they end up wanting to adopt her.
She struggles with that because she does love these people, but she also kind of wants to wait for her mother and be there for her mother as well. This also has a little bit of an element of fantasy in it. Red is actually able to control wind, not very well though. This is just an absolutely beautiful story. I absolutely loved it.
Hi, I'm Shalise from Slapbuster Living. I want to share with you Beautiful Blue World by Suzanne LaFleur, and it is the story of a girl named Mathilde and just some of the issues that she deals with during a war. If you like books like The Giver, you'll like this book. If you like World War II, you'll like this book. A made-up world, which you don't really feel that. I was trying so hard to figure out where this country was during the time of World War II. It's a made-up world. It's a made-up war. And I really like this book, and I gave it 5 stars, which typically modern books I don't give that kind of rating to, but I read it quickly in a day or two, and it would work really well for the challenge of reading a book set in another country. It's a made-up world. Of course it's going to work. And I really think that some of you would like it. I mean, look at that cover. You've got an outline that's just gorgeous, and I really recommend this one.
Hey, it's Mo from Reading with Mo, here to give you my recommendation for the 3rd annual Middle Grade March, and this is one of my favorite books of honestly all time. It's my most read book of all time, and that is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. I've read this book so many times, I can't even keep track, and I really love this edition. It has a lot of cool different illustrations in it. We're following a girl, her name's Anne, and she's an adopted orphan, and she goes to live on this farm with 2 siblings, Matthew and Marilla, and she's just such an imaginative young child, and I feel like this book is just great, not just for people who are in the middle grades, but for adults as well. I'm really glad that this is a book that I grew up reading, and I just feel like it's one that really resonates and connects with a lot of people. So this is definitely my recommendation for this Middle Grade March.
That was the last video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found some new people to subscribe to, but also some great middle grade books to read. I just have 2 quick reminders for you before we sign off here. The first is that Katie and I will be going live on Instagram again this year. We really love connecting with you guys that way. So on Wednesday nights throughout the month of March, we'll be on Katie's Instagram channel. More information about that will be coming, but make sure to follow both Katie and I on Instagram. The links to that will be down in the description below. And also please mark your calendars for March 21st, our 1st annual middle grade read in, kind of along the lines of a lock-in like I used to have at youth group when I was younger. But this is just a night where we stay in, get cozy, read middle grade books, and chat with each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. So mark your calendars, Saturday, March 21st. And I will be telling you more about that soon. Again, don't forget to follow any of these people that you like. Tell them that you found them at my channel, and just comment down below with any books that you heard about that are interesting to you from this video, or anything else that you want to chat about. You guys know I love talking with you down in the comments. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little bell so you know when I am going to post new videos, and I will be talking to you in another video very soon. Bye.